mother, the world to her 3 children, vanishes from her own home as if she simply dissolved into thin air. No body, no trail, just a locked bedroom and a husband who kept telling everyone a different, stranger story. But when the full story finally unravels, it reveals a level of witchcraft, guns, and jealousy so extreme it feels ripped straight out of a horror film. Hello and welcome everyone. I'm your host Adam, and you're watching Who Was, where we bring you the world's most mysterious and gripping true stories. In today's video, we're diving into the case of Maya Miete, who vanished without a trace from Chula Vista, California in January 2021. This isn't just a missing person case, it's a journey through love, control, jealousy, and obsession that tore an entire family apart. Stick around till the end, because every chapter has a new secret waiting for you. Let's get into it. Chula Vista, California, a peaceful, thriving city where people go about their everyday lives. But in the first week of January 2021, the city's calm was shattered when a piece of news spread like wildfire. Over lunch breaks in offices, people whispered it to one another, and by evening, when families gathered for dinner, it was the only topic on everyone's lips. Did you hear? A young woman, a mother of 3, has mysteriously vanished from her own home. That woman was 40-year-old Maya Miete, a Filipino-American woman who lived in Chula Vista with her husband, Larry Miete, and their 3 children. On the evening of January 7, 2021, an outdoor CCTV camera recorded Maya walking into her home at around 5 p.m. No one had any idea at the time that this would be the last glimpse the world would ever get of her. When Maya's relatives realized they hadn't heard from her, panic set in immediately. Terrified and desperate, they wasted no time handing out flyers with her photo and plastering posters across the city. Their urgency wasn't misplaced. January 10th was her eldest daughter's birthday, and everyone who knew Maya knew she would never, under any circumstances, miss that day. According to her family, the last time Maya had been in touch with anyone was on January 7th at 8:15 p.m. After that, silence. Her devastated family turned to the police, and soon dozens of volunteers and officers joined the search. They combed through nearby woods, the surrounding neighborhoods, creeks, and even an abandoned golf course, but found nothing. The strangest detail of all? Larry Miete, Maya's own husband, never once joined the search for his wife. After some time, he cut off all contact with her side of the family entirely. Police initially theorized that Maya might have argued with her husband and simply walked out on her own. But if she truly had left the house, the neighbor's CCTV camera should have caught her doing so. So the question loomed, did she never leave the house at all? Did she climb out a window? Or did she leave some other way entirely? Some people speculated that Maya, known for her striking beauty, might have run off with another man without telling anyone. But as we'll see as this story unfolds, the truth was far darker and more disturbing. Larry's own words, "I thought she was still alive because she'd walked out on us twice before in 2020 without saying goodbye," sounded innocent enough on the surface. But as the investigation dug deeper, that same statement would take on a much more sinister meaning. Next, we go back to where it all began, to a young woman whose life was full of hard work, talent, and dreams, one whose ending nobody could have ever imagined. Maya was born to parents Pablito and Noemi Tabalanza, the 5th of 6 children. Because she was born in the month of May, her parents named her simply Maya, a name that, in hindsight, almost seemed to foreshadow how special her life would turn out to be. From childhood, Maya was sharp and hard-working. In elementary school, she was consistently among the top 5 students in her class. Her drive, her focus, and her dedication set her apart from other kids her age. In March 1995, when her family immigrated to Honolulu, Hawaii, Maya enrolled at Radford High School, and it was there that her personality truly began to bloom. High school wasn't just about academics for Maya. She got involved in acting, joined the drama club, and took dance classes. She threw herself into every activity that gave her a chance to express herself. This was the version of Maya the world came to know, confident, cheerful, full of life. The kind of young woman anyone would look at and think, she has a bright future ahead of her. She graduated high school with honors at just 17 and took a job at McDonald's. It was there she met Larry Miliete, the man who would go on to become the single most significant and, tragically, the most destructive part of her life. Their friendship blossomed into romance, and when Maya turned 19, they got married. Even after marriage, Maya kept pursuing her education, enrolling at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, a land-grant research university where she carved out her own identity through sheer hard work. Around this time, Larry was training in the Navy in Virginia. After a while, the couple decided to relocate to Chula Vista, California. Maya continued her studies there too, graduating with honors from the University of San Diego. She went on to land a job with the U.S. Navy as a civilian contract specialist. This was the Maya the world knew. Hardworking, intelligent, a woman who built her own path through sheer determination. But behind the curtain of her married life, a completely different story was quietly taking shape. One the world would only learn about after she disappeared. Next, we'll see how Maya and Larry's life together seemed happy at first, and how, over time, that relationship slowly turned into a cage. In 2010, after a lot of careful thought, Maya and Larry decided to have their first child. Maya was the kind of woman who thought everything through. She loved children deeply, but she wanted to make sure that she and Larry were financially stable before bringing kids into the world. That was their version of the American dream. Work hard, build stability, then give your children the best future possible. Their first daughter, Laura, was born in 2010, followed a year later by their second daughter, Milani, and then in 2016 by their son, Lazarus Tristan. Maya was an incredibly devoted mother. She gave every spare moment to her children, showing up to every school event, driving them around in her SUV, sharing in every one of their joys and struggles. Some mothers become the center of their children's universe. Maya was the reverse. Her children became the center of hers. From the outside, the Miliete family looked happy, complete. 2 sweet daughters, a son, a hard-working mother, a father serving in the Navy. But not everything that shines is gold. By late 2020, cracks had begun forming inside this family, cracks that no outsider could see. Larry had become consumed by suspicion that Maya was involved with someone else. What started as minor arguments slowly spiraled into an extreme, all-consuming jealousy. Things Maya once tolerated had, by this point, become unbearable wounds she could no longer live with. According to the DA's office, Maya had warned people close to her about Larry's temper just 2 days before his disappearance. Police say Maya texted a friend that she wanted to end the marriage. "I told him I'm filing for divorce, whether he likes it or not. I'm not trying to keep the peace for the kids' sake anymore." Those weren't just the words of a frustrated wife. They were the final cry of a woman trying to reclaim her own life. But as you'll see in the next chapter, the man she was trying to break free from wasn't going to let her go easily. Larry Miliete's true personality began to surface bit by bit. He tracked Maya's every move, literally. His jealousy wasn't limited to suspicion anymore. It was crossing into full-blown paranoia. He would show up at her workplace unannounced, just to check that she wasn't alone with another man. Larry also resented the fact that Maya had several male colleagues on her team. Things escalated to the point where he emailed Maya's former boss, Derek, requesting that a male coworker be transferred to a different department, simply because that man worked alongside her. Larry's need for control didn't stop at Maya. He dragged his own children into his surveillance as well. At one point, he hid one of his kids' phones inside Maya's car just to track her movements. It sounds like something out of a thriller movie, but for Maya, it was her daily reality. Things got so bad that Larry once tried to strangle Maya. The two separated for a while after that. In early 2020, Maya moved in with her brother, but about 6 weeks later she went back to Larry, maybe holding on to a last flicker of hope, or maybe for the sake of the kids. On August 12, 2020, Maya sent her brother Junior a text that captures just how suffocating things had become. He never lets me be alone. He checks all my emails, messages, Messenger, Facebook posts. He even checks my Venmo. And whenever he gets the chance, he tightens his grip even more. Those words alone are enough to unsettle anyone reading them. But despite all of this, when Maya disappeared, the police investigation would uncover secrets that made this story even more chilling. Secrets tied to witchcraft and an obsession so extreme it defies belief.
For sure.
As the months passed in 2020, Larry's grip on Maya tightened.
He's now tracking her spending habits. He's gotten into all of her social media accounts. She doesn't have any privacy.
And he suspected that she was straying.
Larry accused her of having affairs with several men at work, wrote emails to her boss at work. He knows that if he tells the boss that she's having an affair with somebody at work, that she will get fired.
Maya began hearing strange sounds inside her own home. I love you. Love me. These words played faintly, over and over, day and night, echoing in her ears. Maya kept wondering, am I losing my mind? Is this real, or am I just imagining it? The sounds seemed to come from different corners of the house, and they kept her from ever getting a full night's sleep. At first glance, this might sound like the kind of hallucination that stress can trigger, but the reality was the exact opposite. Maya was completely sane. The real problem was inside Larry's head. Police detective Lorenzo Ruiz later told the media that Larry's internet search history contained phrases that would shock anyone. Searches related to subliminal wife training and training a partner's subconscious mind. Without Maya's knowledge or consent, Larry was trying to secretly reprogram her subconscious. And to do it, he had hidden devices around the house that played these recorded messages on a loop. Maya eventually caught on to what he was doing. She messaged Larry, firmly demanding he stop playing these audio recordings, since this kind of manipulation can be seriously damaging to a person's mental health. A form of conditioning designed to control someone's behavior. Maya's sister-in-law, Genesis, later told investigators that Larry had recorded all of these messages himself and had even admitted as much to her directly. But that was only the beginning. The most shocking discovery in the investigation was this. Between September 2020 and the time Maya disappeared, Larry sent over 1,000 messages to various spellcasters and psychics. He purchased roughly 70 spells from them, spending more than $1,000 in total. During a search of the home, police even found a book titled Magical Love Spells. Larry messaged these spellcasters almost every day. At one point, he actually asked one of them to cast a spell that would cause Maya some kind of physical injury severe enough to leave her unable to move on her own, so that she would become entirely dependent on him. His own words in his messages read something like this. I would like a strong spell to bind my wife Maya to me forever, so she loves me unconditionally the way I love her. I hope you're able to cast something that causes bodily harm or leaves her disabled, but not something that kills her. It's chilling to read. A man claiming to love his wife while actively trying to permanently disable her so she could never leave him. This wasn't love. This was the most extreme expression of a deeply disturbed mind.
To hold on to Maya.
And so what does he do? He goes to witchcraft. There are people on the internet that'll sell you for $5, how to make a spell that will get her to be attracted to you, to bind your marriage in blood. And that's what he tried to do. Does a little witchcraft blood altar. That is the picture that he took of the altar, an old photo of them with blood thrown on it.
Right before everyone's eyes, Larry was clearly losing his grip on reality, and Maya was fully aware of it. In December 2020, Maya finally made her decision. She was going to divorce Larry. In the next chapter, we'll see how that decision became the final turning point of Maya's life. Every event, like every action, has a trigger, the exact moment everything starts to change. Police believe Larry's desperation over losing the woman he was obsessed with kept growing by the day. January 7th was the day authorities say Maya reached out to a divorce attorney. That same day, Larry sent a message to one of his psychics that captured the storm brewing inside him. "I'm shaking inside. I'm about to snap." Maya had already spoken to a divorce lawyer earlier that same day. According to attorneys, Maya had carefully thought through how she would serve Larry with the divorce papers because she was genuinely afraid of how he might react. She had even considered leaving town first, then filing for divorce from a distance. She'd looked into staying at a friend's empty apartment for a while, just to be safe. But Maya wasn't willing to leave her children behind. Prosecutors say she didn't want them to be alone with Larry once he found out she was seeking a divorce. A text message Maya wrote back in June captured the reality of her situation. Larry's temper is genuinely terrifying. Larry had even built a small shrine inside their home. At its center sat a photo of himself and Maya, smeared with his own blood, surrounded by 4 candles. On January 23rd, police obtained a search warrant for the Miliete family home. Inside, they found 16 firearms belonging to Larry. 2 of them were being held illegally. 4 other guns Larry was licensed to own were missing from the house entirely. When police asked where they had gone, Larry claimed he had lent them to a friend and an uncle. In May 2021, a gun violence restraining order was issued against Larry after police found photos in the home showing his young son surrounded by his guns. The court moved quickly out of concern for the children's safety. Every piece of evidence was starting to paint a picture of a man whose mind had spiraled completely out of control. In the next chapter, we go to the terrifying night Maya disappeared for good. The morning after Maya disappeared, at around 6:45 a.m., a neighbor's surveillance camera captured the Miliete family's black SUV, a Lexus GX460, being driven by Larry. He returned home around 6 p.m. that evening. Where he was during those hours remains unknown to this day. And here's another strange detail. The vehicle had been parked in a way that kept its rear end completely out of view of the neighbor's security camera. As mentioned earlier, Maya's family had been preparing to celebrate her eldest daughter's birthday on January 10th. When Maya stopped answering calls and texts, one of her siblings drove to Chula Vista to check on her. When they met with Larry, he told them that the previous night, after an argument, Maya had gone to her room, locked the door, and wasn't speaking to anyone. That morning, Larry had taken his son to Solana Beach, and when he returned, Maya was supposedly still locked in the upstairs bedroom. A story Larry repeated more than once. On January 9th, Larry told the same story again to Maya's relatives, but by then, no one believed him anymore. Her family insisted on being let into the room. When they finally got inside, it was completely empty. Maya was nowhere in the house. Her car was still parked outside, but her credit card and driver's license were missing. That night, around midnight, Maya's older sister, Marie-Chris Drouillet, filed a missing persons report with the police. It wasn't until January 15th, after Larry had watched his own daughter's 11th birthday pass without Maya, that he finally expressed any concern for her whereabouts. But before that, on January 8th, the day after Maya vanished, Larry didn't send a single message to any of his psychics, even though he had been messaging them daily up to that point. And on January 9th, according to prosecutors, Larry asked one of the witches to lift all the spells that had been cast on Maya, and instead cast a spell on a man he believed Maya was having an affair with. This sudden shift, the spells abruptly stopping, then being reversed entirely, raises a massive question mark on its own. Something else strange happened that same night. Around 10 p.m., Larry and Maya's children were out playing in the yard, despite the cold weather and the late hour. A neighbor found this odd. Then at 9:57 p.m., the neighbor's surveillance camera picked up 9 loud bangs. Police suspected these could have been gunshots, but audio analysis couldn't reach a clear conclusion. In the next chapter, we'll see how the investigation closed in on Larry and how a decades-old secret became part of this story. Larry owned a massive collection of firearms, including a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson pistol that police were never able to locate in the house. Billy Little, a junior attorney working on behalf of Maya's family, uncovered a 15-year-old incident while digging into the case. On the evening of April 30th, 1997, in the Bay Terrace neighborhood of San Diego, a stabbing took place. Larry, who had moved to Hawaii with his family from San Diego, had been arrested in connection with that incident. Attorney Billy Little stated, "I have reason to believe Larry was part of a gang." As a juvenile, Larry had been arrested over a stabbing. The victim was rushed to the hospital in serious condition, though he eventually recovered. This old incident suggests that violence wasn't a new thing in Larry's life. It may have been a hidden part of his character that resurfaced years later. In a January 2021 interview, Larry himself admitted that he and Maya had argued back in 2020. After February 3, 2021, Larry completely stopped cooperating with police. Following months of investigation, on July 22nd, Larry was formally named a person of interest. Investigators believed the 41-year-old had killed his wife on the night of January 7th and disposed of her body afterward. In interviews, Larry stuck to the same story he'd told Maya's family: the argument, the locked room. But there was one odd detail. On January 8th, Larry's phone was switched off for nearly 11 hours. He didn't go to work that day either, and to this day, no one knows exactly where he was. The neighbor's camera, which could have been a silent witness to what happened, stayed useless too. Larry had parked his car in a way that kept its rear end out of the camera's frame. It's possible he already knew exactly what angle the camera covered, and used that knowledge to his advantage, carrying Maya's body through the garage, into the trunk, and driving off to dispose of it. Finally, on October 19, 2021, Larry Miliete was arrested based on circumstantial evidence and held without bail. In the next chapter, we'll look at what happened to the children after the arrest, and how Larry kept trying to exert control even from behind bars. After Larry's arrest, the couple's 3 young children, Laura, Milani, and Lazarus, were left without either parent. The court granted custody to Larry's parents in an effort to spare the kids from further trauma. Larry was barred from any contact with his children. But Larry kept breaking that restriction. He found ways to speak with his children through relatives, ultimately making over 100 phone calls and spending more than 9 hours talking to them. According to prosecutors, during some of these calls, Larry made disparaging remarks about Maya's family, or asked the kids to read him news headlines. Most disturbingly, Larry asked his 11-year-old daughter and her 10-year-old sister to watch a movie called Shot Caller, an R-rated film about a businessman who ends up in prison. Deputy District Attorney Christy Bowles said Larry likely wanted the children to understand the environment he was living in. After this incident, the court revoked all of Larry's phone privileges except calls to his attorney. By October 2022, Larry was permitted only written communication with his children. No phone calls, no in-person visits. To keep the children's schooling uninterrupted, they remained enrolled in their same schools in Chula Vista, and custody stayed with their paternal grandparents. Maya's sister also sought custody of the children, but the court denied her request. It's an especially painful twist of justice. These innocent kids ended up living with the parents of the man accused of murdering their own mother, in the very city that would forever remind them of what happened. The court did order Larry's parents to facilitate visitation with Maya's side of the family and to arrange mental health services for the children. In June 2022, Larry's attorney filed an appeal claiming he was not competent to stand trial. But after a psychiatric evaluation, Larry was found fit for trial. That finding itself suggests he had full awareness of his actions when it came to covering his tracks. In our final chapter, we'll look at what happened at trial and what this story ultimately leaves us with. When investigators examined Larry's seized phone, they discovered that every text message he'd ever sent Maya had been deleted. When asked why, Larry claimed he simply wanted to free up storage space, an excuse that raised immediate red flags given how little space text messages require. During the investigation, prosecutors pieced together a crucial timeline using digital forensics. On January 8th, the day after Maya disappeared, Larry's cell phone was turned off for nearly 12 hours. Court records revealed that his Lexus SUV had logged roughly 444 unaccounted miles during that window, leading investigators to believe he drove toward the California-Arizona border to dispose of her body. For years, the case moved slowly through the justice system, relying heavily on circumstantial evidence. Indirect proof, like digital records, financial transactions, and behavioral patterns, rather than direct eyewitness testimony. But in July 2026, the long-awaited trial finally reached its conclusion. A San Diego jury found Larry Miliete guilty of first-degree murder. Despite the verdict and a sentence of 25 years to life in prison, one painful mystery remains unsolved. Maya Miliete's body has still never been found. For Maya's family, the legal victory brings a long-overdue sense of justice, but their search for closure continues as they hold out hope of one day bringing her home. This story leaves us with a haunting lesson. When we fall in love, we tend to view our partner through rose-tinted glasses. We project our own values onto them and ignore the red flags: control, jealousy, and fear. We convince ourselves we can change them, but the truth is, no adult can be reshaped from the outside. The most any of us can do is recognize those warnings before it's too late. And that, everyone, is the heartbreaking story of Maya Miliete, a case where justice was finally served, even as the search for Maya continues. If you found this video meaningful, please subscribe, leave a like, and click the bell icon so you never miss our next story. Thank you for watching Who Was, and I'll see you in the next video.
Start with a verdict in a murder case that has captivated San Diego and the country for years. A jury found Larry Miliete guilty of killing his wife Maya. She went missing back in January of 2021.